founder of Canon is a Buddhist person who decided to name his company after this Canon, the Buddhist goddess. So it may or may not reflect in the Canon's company culture, and I don't know them very well, but it might be interesting to find out. Shinto, I think Shinto is an important part of maybe smaller businesses because they probably still look at the Shinto gods as the guard of their businesses, and they would make offerings and rituals and stuff like that.
So, can you now see how the mature person in a Japanese context is living in terms of a distinctive understanding of what counts as morality, influenced, shaped by religions that don't live in the same ways that Western religions live? Become engineers and do work on the job in ways that has very different meaning for themselves and for others. Japan is changing significantly. There are enormous pressures to change. One being prosperity. You'll see that, and you see in the reading in the 1980s, the tremendous increase in prosperity in Japan has provided people with access to Western entertainment and more Western goods. And what comes along with access and participation in Western cultural forms is grappling with Western images such as individualism. So you find individualism in a way sneaking into Japan in a variety of ways, and this is happening across Asian nations. So Western images, through entertainment, Western individualism is basically taking over the world, or at least challenging everyone in the world, locating individualism alongside other traditional cultural images. In Japan, this is producing significant generational tension between young people and older people. Younger people who don't want to fulfill the obligations that come to them by virtue of their positions in the household or in the age cohort or whatever. These young people are aware of the variations out there, the opportunities out there, the differences out there, and they resist.
I have worked in the most sort of stereotypical Japanese workplace. After I've left, I've noticed that there's been some changes slowly, gradually coming into place. The group and the individuals are becoming more and more conflict. At first, with the emergence of the so-called new human species, which just means the new generation, but because the younger people were so different from the older people decided to call them the new human species. They like to party, they don't like to accept lifetime employment. They rather spend more time individually rather than the group. And the second thing that really brought the group and the individual in conflict is the so-called lost decade, when the Japanese economy that hit peak started to come downhill and stayed pretty much down for the 10 years. The companies suddenly started to turn around to their employees and say, don't work long hours because we can't pay you for overtime, so work less and go and spend time with your family and yourself. And there were employees who worked there for 20, 30 years without having spent any free time like this. So there was a lot of confusion, I suppose, and I forget which government agency it was, but they actually came up with a manual called How to Spend Your Free Time. And this is kind of a joke that we tell each other, but we had to be taught how to spend our free time. The other joke that is kind of my favorite is that the sales of pots increased. This is a particular kind of pot that you use on top of your dining table, and you throw in a lot of stuff, vegetables, meat, and fish, and cook it all together, and you eat with a group of people, like you would eat, I don't know what you would eat. Well, it's a big pot of stew that you eat with a group. The joke is that the Japanese wives who were used to cooking only for herself and her children did not know what to cook for dinner for their husbands. And so all of a sudden they decided, okay, doing these pot thing is a good thing for the family. And everybody started buying these pots, and the sales of pot increased. So that was another joke.